Mr. Fisher.
How are you? How are you? On the show, I am the BassMan.
The BassMan. Oh, hi, the BassMan.
How are you today?
I am well, thank you. It has been a while.
It has been a long time. Congratulations, I have to say first. Obviously, moving to Canada, definitely agreed with you. So much has happened since you did. Let me ask you firstly, when did the idea of Canada come? Where did it come from, and when did it become a reality?
Honestly speaking, the idea came from my husband. I had no idea I was ever going to leave my country. But being an oil and gas guy, all he knows,
yeah, and he's moved everywhere.
Exactly, and Calgary used to be the booming venue for space for oil and gas professionals.
Yes. Okay.
So it was like, let's move, and it was really shocking for me because at that point in my life, I felt like I was beginning to settle into my space, begin to get comfortable as an artist and as a professional arts administrator. So it was my husband actually, and yeah.
Okay, well, obviously he saw something or knew something that you didn't, because it seems like when did you move? When was it?
We moved in 2019. It's going to be 4 years next month.
And in 4 years, did you think that you would be where you are now in 2016? Did you think you would have, because obviously things have just taken off in Canada. The residency, brilliant. How long is that for, if I may ask?
Oh, so I did a residency with the Banff Center for Creative Arts, and that was about a month. I did another 3 months with the Calgary Public Library, which was a central library downtown. Okay. And then the other residency I did with the Canada Music Incubator was for a whole 5 weeks. Okay. So it's something that, as an artist, you're encouraged to participate in professional development courses and programs, and Canada offers a lot of that. Oh,
fantastic. Well, I have to say, today I think I found out more about you today than I have known for a long time. Now, I didn't realize that did you actually release meditation in Nigeria? You did?
Yes, I did.
Okay, because I've got a surprise for you. I remember meeting you in the car park of Muson one day, and I said, listen, we were in the office, and you said, I'll go get it from the car, and you gave me this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? That CD. Yes, I've still got it.
I can see my handwriting on it. Oh, my goodness.
I consider this pre-release. This was the pre-release, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so I've listened to the landing. First, you have to explain the title, but you'll do that a bit later. Sure. And then I've listened back to the stuff on meditation, and I can see the progression. It's now let me see if I've got this right. It's actually a progression from meditation itself. Yes, would you agree?
I do, totally.
Okay. All right. Okay, so listen, I want to go back to the beginning. For me, the beginning is Eddie Kwanzaa. Your version of Eddie Kwanzaa. So I'm gonna cut off the chat right now, and that's what I'm gonna play first, because it's probably the best version of Eddie Kwanzaa that I've heard to date.
Oh,
it's probably it's so what's the word? It's a very soulful version. So different. I mean, one wouldn't have thought, listening to the original track from the 1950s, that you could actually create a version of that, because it's a classic. Eddie Kwanzaa is a classic Nigerian folk song. Do we call it a folk song?
Oh, with a touch of high life, with a touch of it's such a beautiful piece.
Okay, so we're going to start there. I'll play something else from meditation, and then we'll come back and chat a little bit more. Okay? So right now I'm going to mute the sound on here, but use the listen live link to listen to the show. This is just for the chat and the Zoom call. I'm expecting a few people to join in a few minutes.
All right.
Okay.
So much.
Hold on.
Good evening.
How you doing, my brother?
Very well. Good evening, Perpie. Welcome to the show. Charlene, Happy New Year. Good evening and Happy New Year to you, Perpie, too. You know.
Okay, let me give you a little history, Victor. Vincent.
Okay, please do.
Perpie, I met in Lagos sometime in, I don't know, 2014, 2015, sometime around then. She used to work in the Music Society of Nigeria. She was like an admin person organizing their events and everything. And behind all of this, she had this career she was growing with her music on the saxophone. The first track that you heard, the track I just played, Eddie Kwanzaa, was the first. You know the song. I'm sure you know the song.
Of course, we've got to play it again. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
this rendition is fantastic.
Oh, you haven't heard it?
Well
before?
Done. I haven't heard it before. I've heard the older one. Yeah, I'm not familiar with the older one, but this one is something special.
She released this, I think, around 2018. Is that correct, Perpie?
2017. 2017,
she released that. It blew me away the first time I heard it. I have to admit, it did. You know, and I met this person. She is so quiet. You know, she doesn't say anything. She doesn't make any waves. She's always got a pleasant smile, you know. But obviously, there's a lot going on because, I mean, since she's moved to Canada, I mean, it's just exploded. She's just released a new single off a new album. The chronology of her releases, let me just give you a little background to that. Hang on a sec. Okay. Hang on. There's Eddie Kwanzaa, which was 2017, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. After that, she released an EP in Nigeria called Meditation. I have you know what they used to call white label in the UK? I've got a white label copy of that album before it was.
That's my handwriting.
With her handwriting.
All right.
You know? And then 2019, she moved to Canada. But before that, she released other tracks off that EP as singles, Beautiful. Then she re-released Meditation in 2022. In Canada, then she released Home, which I hadn't heard before today. And then, of course, now we've got this the Landing 1803. Please explain the title, Landing 1803. What is that?
Okay, thank you so much, Peter. You're so gracious. It's so nice to hear you talk. It's been a while.
It has been a while, yes.
So honored to be on your show today.
The pleasure is mine.
Yeah, so the Landing 1803, which wasn't the original title when I started writing the music.
Mm-hmm.
But since I moved to Canada, I began to discover what my history is. And it's in a part, it is shameful that I didn't know much of my history, much of my African background until I moved to Canada. And here in Canada, we celebrate things called Black History Month.
Yes.
And that should not be new to me because I should know my history. I should know my story more than anyone else. But I started to learn about my history here. And one of the most outstanding findings was this story called the Eagle Landing.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with the Eagle Landing.
Vincent is.
So yeah, we have this. It was recorded that over 75 Igbo. In some accounts, it says they were warriors, and then in some accounts, he just referred to them as Igbo people. They were taken, and you know the history of slavery and everything, taken from their land, of course, to the U.S. to be sold as slaves, and because some accounts say they were warriors, of course, when they got to the shores, when they touched down, they came out as strong Igbo people who are proud people, who are strong people. They took over the slave ship, took over the captives, like sunk them, like literally buried, killed their captors, took over the ship, walked out to the shore, which means they were free. But of course, you know you're not free, it's not your land, you'll be captured again. Yeah. Then they walked back into the river, into the ocean, and drowned themselves in there. And that's a part of history that really shook me. I've never been able to get over it. But then also the bravery, because some accounts, some writers, there's this writer whose title of his book was, they chose this bottom of the sea over slavery, over chains, over chains, because that would have been them living in chains.
Yeah, it would have been chains, yeah.
So for me, I wanted the arrival was the original title for this piece, and for me, it was capturing the arrival of a king, of a royalty, who, as they arrived, you hear the praise, the chant, and there was drumming on my mind as I wrote that music.
Yeah.
But as I started to find out more about my roots, my history, my people, I wanted to dedicate something to that memory, to that bravery, and that's how.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing. So this is what you're depicting is a real life Amistad, without the courts. They didn't choose to be captured and fight for their freedom that way. They chose not to live.
Yes.
Wow.
They chose not to live because they knew that living was slavery. They were always going to be in chains. And I think after that, what happened, because when I'm reading, in 1807 was when the first, 1807 or 1805 was when the first decree to ban slavery was issued. And so I do not know if this is tied to that experience
or not.
Or not. But for me, that felt like people who sacrificed themselves, who decided, I will not continue this chain of slavery. And they really, I believe they shook the grounds of Atlanta, of the United States at that time.
Do you know something? Africa has forgotten that sense of pride in ourselves. We have forgotten about that. The leaders that we have decided that it's better for us to go ashore than stand in our home and say, this is who we are and this is what we can become. You know, we've forgotten that. But the next thing I have to ask you, simple question, who is Perpie? Go on.
That is a very, very interesting question.
Yeah.
And as an artist, you probably know we're constantly evolving, we're constantly growing. But who I am right now, in theory, when you have to pitch, like we were taught pitching in my residency, how to pitch yourself as an artist.
Okay, all right.
An Afro-Canadian saxophonist, composer, live recording and performing artist, contemporary African music with a touch of folk and soul.
Okay.
In my art, and I'm an interdisciplinary artist because I'm into production, into performance, into education, as well as music administration and training. And so this is me in a nutshell. However, deeper side, I'm on a journey to assimilating the people that I represent, because I understand it as an African, wherever we go,
we are representing. We are representing. That's another thing. That's another thing that we forget. Wherever we go, we are representing. Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Okay. Well, Perpie, we still got a bit more chat to go. I'm gonna move on to some music, and with another Nigerian who made his landing on a different shore. And that's Awele, who's in the UK, and the track is so funny. The track that I picked to play next, before you even said anything, is called "Be a Man." All right, Perpie, we're back. Unmute yourself, please.
Welcome back.
Yes. That was Untitled. Please tell me why you called. You know, when I first saw that on the EP Untitled, I thought, what? She couldn't make up her mind what she wanted to call it? What was it called, Untitled?
And you just answered the question right there, as simple as it is.
Really?
We just make up our minds. So that was my very first instrumental recording, and that wasn't an original. That wasn't written by me. I co-wrote a very tiny section in that piece.
Okay. With who?
That was written by Diga, who you probably know him as Timothy.
Oh, yes. Oh, another brilliant young musician.
Exactly.
Brilliant young musician. Yes.
And so.
Okay.
We recorded that not knowing what title we're going to leave it. And then so at the final rehearsal, we were like, just get it out of the door. We don't know. And that's as simple as it is.
Okay. So the single's out. I'm going to play it again next. When is the album released? When is the album going to be released?
So I'm hoping it will come out this year.
Oh, this year?
Yes.
Oh, it's not. Okay, recording hasn't finished yet, or it has?
Recording is finished.
Okay.
Recording is finished. But I'm also learning to take it all in, the entire process, and be able to take my audience on the journey with me, rather than just throw out an album and leave it to them to determine. So as I released this one, even yesterday, I was having a conversation with a producer, not a producer, a show producer and a podcaster, and we were talking. And for me, it's a learning journey instead of just pointing out there. Part of my learning from my residency is also to grow with the music, grow with the audience, and not just throw something out there and then it just goes, after a while, it goes quiet. But you want to take your audience on a journey and bring them into the music and share this story with them.
So okay, that means to me one of two things. It means either when you start to tour with this album, that the show will be an experience of the story.
Exactly. So I did my very first live tour here in Calgary, not a tour here in Calgary. It's called EJ Live, which was comprised of every work on the album. And for me, we're able to take the audience on that journey. It was so good to do that. We had an orchestra on the back and a jazz band as well. So being able to do that was so beautiful.
So that means that the landing, the musical, is on the way.
Exactly.
Are you serious? Are you serious? Because it's one of two things. It's either the live show becomes, as you said, an experience of that, or you do an ABBA and you sort of turn it in, and it's quite feasible with the story that you're telling.
Exactly.
It's quite feasible that you could turn it into a musical. Wow.
Exactly.
That is really. I mean, it would be an understatement to say that your horizons have widened considerably from sitting on the first floor of Muson.
You do remember?
Yes, I do. All right, fantastic. Okay. What else? Who else is in Canada that you've come across on the jazz idiom that is from offshore? Who else have you come across?
You mean of African descent, or
of African again in Canada? Who else?
There are quite a few of them, and it's a growing research for me. I have met what they call him, Timothonius. Timothonius is a pianist. Timothy Ali, or Ali is his last name. He's African. I'm not sure where he's from. A great pianist. And there is another jazz drummer here who's also of African descent. He's Yoruba, actually. He's from Nigeria. But this summer, my goal is to go out even a little more. And there's this band in Edmonton called the Melafrique. Melafrique is a band of young musicians of African descent from Uganda, from Kenya. They just came together and made up a band, and they're doing amazing work.
I tell you what, whoever you come across that is of African descent, that is coming up with original music, please tell them about my show and what I'm doing, because really the show has now become, it's not just about Nigerian jazz, it's actually about African jazz. And I'm working on a domain for this that is going to promote and feature African jazz exclusively, nothing else, no other African, because there's quite a few sites that have, there's a myriad of African music genres. There's so many, and on some of these sites they're all there. Unless you're looking for one particular artist, you're lost.
For sure.
But in this case, everybody on the site is going to be an African artist. Doesn't matter where they are, but jazz is their idiom. In whatever fusion package they have, as long as there's jazz in it and it's good and it's original, they feature with me. Okay. So
all right, I will be your evangelist. I will do that.
Thank you. Thank you. And also, please keep me in the loop about what happens with the landing. All right.
I definitely will. Thank you so much. I appreciate this.
No. As well, and I'm honored that I believe this is your first show after the release of the single, correct?
Exactly. I was just telling my friends, of like, this is my first radio show.
This is her first show in the world. Is on Jazz and Conversations. Yes.
Exactly. Because we just released yesterday, and I'm in conversations with local radio stations here, but this is the first one. I'm so honored to be on this show with you. So thank you.
Bless you. Thank you. You've already made my year. Okay. All right, Vincent, you're on here. You haven't said a word. This is unusual for you.
I'm actually just listening and learning from this. This is absolutely brilliant. It's nice meeting you. I was also thinking as you were talking about, these other groups, I'm sure there is a way that live shows can be streamed through Lagos Talks, through Jazz and Conversation, something we should look at and work towards. You understand? So that there is some synergy between what we're doing in Nigeria and what you guys are doing in Canada.
Yeah.
Something to look at and work on, in the months ahead.
And if I can tell you, Perpie, one of my mission, I have a mission. There's a mission statement that's going to go up on our site, and one of those things is to promote the establishment of African jazz as a legitimate genre of jazz and no longer called world music. You can't know how much I hate it when I hear African jazz being called world music. Honestly, it is. I will do anything to get that change. So that's one of my missions.
Absolutely, yes. It is in world music. There's so much in African music that you don't just categorize it as world music.
You know the thing I've discovered, because I've linked up with guys in Egypt and Tunisia and South Africa and East Africa and West Africa and Mali, in every country, because in Africa, every country has its own musical instruments, its own scales, and its own cultural influences. And in every country, you can hear the jazz influences. Right. But everything else, it's just a different sound, country for country. I'm going to do something. I'm going to play 2 or 3 tracks from some of these artists, so that you just hear the diversity of some of what's been coming across Africa. Okay, we'll come back to the chat in a bit. We're going to have more music, and I'm going to play another Nigerian who landed on other shows. Adedeji, who landed in. Okay, so I'm going to play. It's not off his current album, which is called Yoruba Odyssey. He's another person who wants to take his audience on a journey with the album. He actually performed music from the album in 2021 in Alliance Francaise. And that's another thing. When are you going to come home and perform again? We'll talk about that later. All right? All right. Adedeji, They Don't Really Care, called War Chant. That's the title of it. They released it, I think, in 2020. You listen to it, you hear, he's there. You don't always know that it's saxophone that's playing because there's so much going on with it. Okay. Yeah. and then the second track was from Kokoroko, the UK-based Afro jazz group, and that's off their recent album. It's a track. It's killing me. Honestly, the melody is just, and it's on a high life stroke, Afro beat, kind of beat going on underneath. It's just wonderful. I have another. Vincent introduced me to another track, which I'm going to play. We've got about 20 minutes left, so I'm going to play that. I'm going to also play a bit of Eddie Kwanzaa again. Okay, I'm going to do a 3 of you. I'm going to do a bit of Eddie Kwanzaa. I'm going to do a bit of meditation, and then I'm going to do the landing again because I started with it. Yeah. All right, Vincent, what? You're putting up a finger. What does that mean?
Yeah, because I'm trying to get your attention. I just wanted her to explain how she came about doing Eddie Kwanzaa, because Eddie Kwanzaa is some serious stuff, and I've listened to it for the last 40 years, but when it's been on, every time I have a playlist, I have Eddie Kwanzaa. So for you to work on it, what happened? Because that's not in your purview as far as I can tell,
Oh yeah. So you probably don't know, but I studied with music performance at the Muson Center in Lagos, which is also a very classical music-based organization. And so now things are beginning to open to African, influences. But for my final performance, I wanted to do something. I didn't want to just do a classical piece, a smooth jazz piece. I wanted to do something. At that point, I wanted to start learning about my culture, the sound of Africa, and then I reached out to a friend. His name is Philip Uzo. I don't know if you know him.
Of course
He's
I
a
do.
guitar and producer based in Lagos, but an amazing writer. And so we thought, okay, this is a song. I love it because of that. And I've always loved folk music, folklore, which Edikwansa carries. So when you hear that piece, you're thinking Things Fall Apart, you're thinking Chino Achebe, you're thinking Tales by Moonlight and all of that.
Yeah.
So that was the only piece that was the only folk tune that came to mind, even though it's picked up international. And so we sat down, we're like, how do we infuse? I've always been, referred to as someone with a great tone, with a smooth and soulful sound. And so we wanted to bring that forth. And that's why when you hear that section, that's different jazzy funk type section in the music, you hear that soul, and that's how that came to be. So it was a quest to know about my roots, because I never really had that exposure as an African. I listened to anything Western all my life, but I wanted to be connected to my soul, and that was where the journey started.
Brilliant.
I owe that success to my friends in Muson and Philip Uzo.
Should I tell you something? When I started the show in October 2016, I, like you, had listened to sort of Western jazz, Bob James, Dave Grusin, all of that. That's smooth jazz, no. Original smooth jazz, Grover Washington, and that's all, yes. When I started the show, I started October 2016. Then February 2017, I was invited to an album launch by Awele Adeyemi. And I sat down and listened to this band in front of me, and I closed my eyes. I said, Jesus, this is the Chick Corea Electric Band in front of me if I close my eyes. So like you went on a journey, that started my journey to discover what's happening with jazz in Nigeria, and now it's extended to Africa. So even this show is a journey. It's still, it's evolving. I mean, we only added the Zoom call about 2-3 months ago to the call, and it's really added a conversation element to it. Okay, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to play this track that Vincent introduced me to last week, and I think it is going to blow you away if you haven't heard it before. Have you heard of a track called I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings?
No.
Okay, fine. Okay, so we're going to listen to that. Then I'm going to hit him with a bit of Eddie Kwanzaa, a bit of meditation, and a bit of the landing. And then we'll come back to chat and then close the show for tonight. How does that sound?
Excellent.
All right, Vincent, let's go. I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings.
Yay.
Okay, that was 3 in a row. And Vincent, those 3 tracks demonstrate her progression. Eddie Kwanzaa to meditation to the landing 1803. Perpie, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you on the show, and I'm honored to have been your first radio interview anywhere in the world.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here and to get a chance to share more than just the music and the story behind it. So I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And there's just one little thing. We haven't heard you sing on meditation, didn't you? That's your voice.
Yes.
Okay, we haven't heard it today.
Ooh.
So I sorry?
Which of the meditations did you listen to? There is one that's purely vocal.
Yes, I know. That's not the one I'm going to play. What I'm going to play is Well Uchem. Well Uchem.
Oh. Okay, that was me singing, yes.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to close with that tonight.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
so Vincent gets to hear a little bit. She doesn't just play a beautiful sax. She sings, she writes. Hey.
The sax is enough for me. The sax just blows me out of the water each time. Nice one. Really good. Really good.
And she's a wife and a mother. Am I correct?
Yes, I've got 3 of them.
3 kids. She's all of that
Oh,
and
wow.
then some.
That
Okay.
adds to the mix. Nice one.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Listen, please. You did share this with your fan base, yes?
Oh, for sure.
Are they
Sure.
listening in?
I think they're having challenge because when they go on the site, I got some messages saying when they go on the site and click listen live, it takes them to a different page. So I don't know.
Wow. Okay, but anyway, what's going to happen?
But a few of them were in Nigeria, were on the radio show, the radio proper.
Okay. I am going to post the audio from this tomorrow
Excellent.
on Mixcloud, so it will be available on my Facebook page.
Great.
Okay.
Great.
So you'll be able to. So they'll be able to listen to it tomorrow. Okay.
Thank you so much. That'll be helpful. Thank
All
you.
right. Okay, gentlemen and ladies, gentlemen and ladies, because there's only one guy and two girls tonight. Charlene, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Perpie, always welcome. Listen, anything at all, just let me know.
For sure. Thank
Okay,
you so much.
if you've got a show coming up and you want, just let me know.
I
Okay.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Vincent, my co-anchor.
Thanks.
That's what I've decided.
Thanks
You
a
are
lot.
now. You're my co-anchor now.
I've been promoted. Thanks
You've been
a lot.
promoted.
This is really nice. Perfect. Please keep it up, okay? And like Peter said, just let us know what's going on. This is fantastic. Okay?
And please, Perpie, never, as you're on that journey in your music, please ensure that it's always in your music. So that will always be what distinguishes you from everyone else.
Right.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Always.
Yeah,
Take care.
Yeah.
God bless.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, and we'll talk again soon. Thank you, everybody, for listening in tonight. It's been a night with Perpie, Awele, Nwa Olisa. Have I got that all correct?
Yeah.
Her first radio show anywhere in the world. And this is her singing, Well, Uchem. Thank you, everybody. Good night. God bless.